This is Marcus from AndroidVisionary.com, and today I want to show you an older phone, but a great phone nonetheless. This is the Nokia N9. Now, you know, on Android Visionary I concentrate mostly on Android, of course, but every once in a while I like to shake it up a little bit, and this is no exception. This is the Nokia N9 with Android loaded onto it. It's got a special custom software going. It's Jelly Bean 4.1, and I'm going to do a little mini review to put it through its paces. So if you want to, stay with me, and we're going to go through a little mini review of Android on the Nokia N9. Hope you'll stay tuned. Okay, let's get started. Now, as you can see with the Nokia hardware, it's really well built. I'm not going to go through too much in depth of the hardware. Everybody knows that Nokia makes a great phone, and Samsung could learn from making some really great plastic, like this Nokia right here. It just feels really premium, and it's awesome. So let's just jump into it. The performance on this phone, obviously it's from 2 years ago, but it's not too bad. For a phone that was built in 2011 and is now running Jelly Bean, it's actually quite good. As you can see down here, the notification light works, even though I think it only blinks in one color, which is white, and it's actually quite good. So it does what it needs to do. It basically reminds you of things and lets you know that you have some type of message waiting. So let's turn it on and see what's going on. Okay, as you can see at the top here, I've got a whole bunch of different messages from a Facebook message, Hangouts, and Gmail. Basically, the white light that you saw down there is all that you're going to get. This is still very much an alpha build, and it is not exactly ready for prime time. I hate to say that because I love Android on so many different devices, but it's not exactly ready for prime time. As you can see, I have it plugged in here at the top as well. The charging port is at the top on this Nokia. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, I'm only getting 94%. So that could be the battery itself, and it could be something related to the battery as opposed to, you know, the Android on this device not reporting things correctly. So unfortunately, it only goes up to 94%. It never reaches 100. That's a really bad strike against it. Let's take this out for now. Secondly, again, the performance is not too bad, but you can see some clipping when I go through the different screens. For example, do you see that small clipping right there on the across as I'm going through the different widgets? That is due to the fact that this is very much an alpha. Now, I do want to give credit to the people at Nitdroid. It's the Nitdroid build of Jelly Bean 4.1 that was put onto the N9 here, and this is really not for the faint of heart. Like, if you're not a person who's into Android and who's into hacking your phone, you probably don't want to attempt this. It's by a gentleman named ES. I don't know if you could see that there. ES. That's who actually made this and who put it together, and he has done awesome work. So kudos to ES on the forum Nitdroid. He did some great work on getting this N9 with Jelly Bean on it. Now it's 4.1.1. Let me go back and show you 4.1.1 Jelly Bean, and he says he's working on Alpha 6. So hopefully we'll see that pretty soon. As you can see, again, not all the graphical drivers are worked out properly because things would be easier to flick around if it were. Anyway, it's still pretty stable. Now, the only major drawback about this is that it does not have, first of all, two major drawbacks, okay? First, the camera does not work, and that's, again, just due to the fact that there's a lot of proprietary drivers. And the second thing is that phone calls do not work on this as well. You can see that I tried to make some phone calls here, but they just don't work, and that's, again, because of some of the audio drivers and whatnot being in the state that they are on this device. So they just haven't quite figured it out, and that's because they don't have all the the closed source code that optimizes everything for MeeGo on the Nokia side, the MeeGo side, and because of that, Android can't make much progress because everybody has to figure everything out pretty much from the ground up. So that's a major drawback as well. But again, I just like to see this it's kind of like a feature just to say that you could put Android onto this Nokia N9 is really something great. All of us Android diehards really liked Nokia's hardware, and we wanted to see Android come to Nokia eventually, but it just didn't work out. So let's just talk about quickly a couple of apps and games. As you can see, Facebook is on here and that works. Google Plus is on here, that works as well. And it's a decent experience, but again, you'll notice some clipping issues, some frame rate issues as you scroll through your list. That's the only problem that I have with the N9 especially. Now, it seems as though your text messages work because I've gotten lots of text. So text messages definitely work. But unfortunately, voice does not work. And so it's just not quite where it needs to be. So in essence, it works, but it's not the greatest. Now, I went through the day with it. Of course, it's only on Wi-Fi. I couldn't really do any calling, but it managed to last more or less the day. It couldn't quite make it through the night, and what I noticed is that as soon as it got to about 16% or so, it just dropped right down to 4%. So it unfortunately doesn't really make the cut to me, and I couldn't actually recommend anybody do this just because of the state that Alpha 5 Nitdroid 4.1 Jelly Bean is in. Now, maybe Alpha 6 with 4.3 may be able to overcome some of these issues and just make this phone stellar, but again, this is really just for hobbyists and enthusiasts like myself who want to have Android and try Android on the Nokia N9, the only Nokia probably that will ever have Android. So that's my review, my mini review actually, of the Nokia N9 with Android 4.1.1 from Nitdroid Alpha 5. So, of course, this is going to be mostly for hobbyists and enthusiasts of Android such as myself. This is not going to be for your mainstream customer, obviously, because it's very hard to get Android to be running on the Nokia N9, and not everything works. In fact, some things are broken, like the camera and calling. But before I go, I just want to show you one game, Candy Crush, of course. Candy Crush works fine on this device. So if you're an addict, like many people out there, it can actually run on the Nokia N9. And to be honest, I don't even think the Nokia N9 store, the MeeGo store, has Candy Crush on it. So that's one thing that it's got over MeeGo, Android on the Nokia N9. So thanks for tuning in. I just want to ask for your feedback and comments, obviously down below. I'm Marcus from Android Visionary, your guide to Android's future. Thanks, and take care.